Good morning. This is John from the Springs Mennonite Church. I'm happy to be with you today, here in the middle of the week. I hope it's been a good one for you. And I hope the rest of the week is going to look just as exciting as it possibly can. I know, maybe that's an exaggeration to some degree, but really, when we look for God in our lives, we can find great excitement. So, to continue this morning with the series that I've been talking about this week, what are we to do? I turn to Ephesians chapter 5 and verses 8 and 9. And here's what it says. Once you were full of darkness, but now you have light from the Lord. So live as people of light. For this light within you produces only what is good and right and true. Okay, let's take a look at this for a minute. It starts out, says, once you were full of darkness, but now you have the light from the Lord. The Bible uses the imagery of light and darkness to show a contrast. And of course, we're very familiar with how light dispels darkness. You go into a dark room, you turn on the light, the darkness disappears. As some poets have said, it runs and hides. And to be in the dark means to be, well, not knowing what's happening, not being able to see, sometimes being afraid, sometimes thinking anyway that you're helpless because you really don't know what's coming at you. But to be in the light is more encouraging and it's strengthening to our bodies. You know, there are some people who suffer from depression in the wintertime. And scientists have discovered that the depression is caused by the lack of sunshine. So if you live up in the far north where you have very little sun during the wintertime, for those folks, they have to do something else. They've got to do something to get more light in their life. And what they often do for therapy purposes is to put in banks of light, big panels of light around where the person is, maybe where they're working or their desk or something like that. And they turn those lights on a long time in order to fight depression. Chickens. I don't know if you've ever raised chickens, but in the wintertime, their egg production drops significantly. And one of the reasons it drops is because the lack of sunlight or light. So if you happen to be raising chickens and there's a big difference between the winter and the summer in terms of the amount of sunshine, then it's often helpful to have a light come on in the hen house and leave it on for 12, 14 hours a day. You get more eggs. The chickens will be happier. Well, if we take that same illustration and apply it to people in our lives, then these two verses make a lot of sense. It says, for once you were full of darkness, but now you have the light from the Lord. Once you didn't understand, but now you do. For those who have decided to give their lives to the Lord, there's a whole change in the way in which you perceive things. The world looks different. And the Bible talks about how God comes and lives within us. So his presence, his light, his goodness lives within us. So then the passage goes on to say that since that's the case, so live as people of light. What does he mean? Well, Paul is talking about the need to live out what we believe in. If you believe in goodness, then you need to live out goodness and not live out anger. If you believe in grace and forgiveness, then you need to practice that in all aspects of your life. You can't say, I believe in this, and then do the opposite and expect to have any credibility to anybody, even to yourself. It's not saying that we can't do this, because obviously we can't. It's saying we should do this. See, you and I have a choice. God made us free agents. We can choose what we do. We can choose what we don't do. And so many times we think we are being controlled by the circumstances around us, by the situation that we find ourselves in. And we're not. We are controlled by ourselves. How we respond to something or someone is based on what we choose to do. So it says, since you're no longer in darkness and now you live in the light, therefore live that way. And then it goes on to say, for this light within you. It's not something from the outside. It's not something that forces you. It's something from within you that gets you to want to choose. And it says, for this light within you produces only what is good and right and true. We have the ability to live a life full of goodness. You have it. I have it. Now, whether we do it or not is a whole nother question. But we have the ability. We can live a life that reflects goodness and love and compassion and understanding. I mean, look at Jesus. He was able to relate to everybody. He even cared about those who didn't like him. He continued to reach out to everyone, even though the disciples didn't want him to. They thought only the Jews were included. But it was clearly more than just that. And whenever he came to someone, he had this ability to make them feel like they were important. Well, the same is true for us. No, we're not Jesus, but we can act like Jesus. Maybe we can't heal physically like Jesus, but we can act like Jesus. We can choose to live our lives that look like his. And that's what Paul's talking about. He says, for once you were full of darkness, but now you have light from the Lord. So live as people of the light. For this light produces what is good and right and true. Does your life reflect that? It could. And I would say it should. And if it does, you will find happiness in a way you've never imagined before. Well, thanks for listening. If you have a prayer, concern, or a need, let us know. We'll do whatever we can as fast as we can to try to help you out. Thanks for sharing some of your time. Hope you have a great day. I'll talk to you again.